The Pittsburgh Steelers worked some Pittsburgh Steelers magic once again, and it just shows this team is all in on 2023. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbein. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And today we're talking about Allen Robinson, the trade for the Pittsburgh Steelers, acquiring a veteran wide receiver for practically nothing as Omar Khan continues to work his magic and show this team and this fan base that he's here to do as much damage as possible and make this team a contender as quickly as he can. And I think that's what he's doing. Omar Khan, well, he's been a Wizard long before he became the GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but now he gets to do different things to show that he is fully capable of this gig. In his latest adventure, he went out, got Allen Robinson from the LA Rams for a 7th-round swap. That is all they gave up. The Pittsburgh Steelers moved back to 251 and they give up 234. And in the meantime, Allen Robinson, a player who was on the trading block because the Rams needed to create some cap space, was guaranteed $15 million this season. The Rams have already paid him $5 million, and now they're going to pay him another $5 million, meaning the Steelers are only paying this man $5 million in guaranteed money in 2023. That is a steal for a guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers certainly believe can help this organization, a young Kenny Pickett and some developing wide receivers in an offense that is growing and needs that veteran presence. The reviews have been raving. Nobody has had anything negative to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers in this trade, and they shouldn't have anything negative to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers in this trade, even if Allen Robinson has been down the last 2 years. He comes in here, and I get it. The last 2 seasons, he's dealt with injury. He's caught just over 700 yards, 71 catches, 749 yards, and 4 touchdowns in just 22 games. But the guy's shown in spurts throughout his career, and especially early in his career, that he is capable of playing, capable of being a Pro Bowler, capable of being one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I get it. At 29 years old, he's not who he once was, but he's still somebody out there. And for a team that needed that receiver, that needed that reliable receiver, I was hearing names months ago when guys like Mac Hollins that the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested in. And I thought Mac Hollins was a good addition to the Pittsburgh Steelers if it happened, but the new group of acquisitions that I thought that the Steelers were going to make did not measure up to Allen Robinson. The names that have been floating around there do not measure up to Allen Robinson. And it just shows once again that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're ready to win. I've said this time and time again, and I'll continue to say it. The Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl window opens this season. It doesn't mean they're going to go win a Super Bowl. It doesn't mean that they're ever going to win a Super Bowl or that Kenny Pickett's going to turn into a franchise quarterback and a Hall of Famer and all these things are going to work out. It doesn't mean any of that. What it means is that right now, heading into 2023, the Pittsburgh Steelers see what's in front of them. They see the opportunity that they are presented with. They have a quarterback who knows how to win, that they fully expect to take a large jump in 2023 as his second year as the starter. They have a running back in Najee Harris who has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, has an offensive line that they have decided to regroup and hopefully fix. They put faith in Matt Canada, and I don't know how that's going to turn out, but they believe that another year together is just going to help things. And now they looked at what was left. What do they need to do now? And the biggest hole on offense, well, it was wide receiver, because as of 2 days ago, it was Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, a Calvin Austin that hasn't played a down in the NFL, and I hope that he does. And I have full expectations that Calvin Austin becomes something for the Pittsburgh Steelers and something very good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But even so, that's 3 guys. And then you have Anthony Miller, who hasn't played a regular season snap for the Steelers yet, and Gunnar Olszewski, who isn't much of a wide receiver at all in the NFL. And you have to wonder, where were they going with their next wide receiver? Because it was clearly a hole, and a pretty big one, in an offense that almost consistently uses 3 wide receivers, isn't going to rely on Zach Gentry and Connor Hayward to be those guys that play 12 and 13 personnel all the time so that they could take a wide receiver off of the field. That's just not what the Pittsburgh Steelers were looking to do. What they needed was a veteran presence, somebody who could play on the outside and on the inside, somebody who could educate these guys, who can mentor younger players like George Pickens and Calvin Austin, who could work with Deontay Johnson as a leadership role, because Deontay Johnson's a very good leader for these guys. Just to move a presence that rounds out this receiving core. It also allows them to head into the NFL draft. And if they add another wide receiver, well, they're only bulking a position that they think right now is, well, pretty good, pretty set off. But if Allen Robinson's 29 years old and you add another young mix, well, right now you're looking at a receiving core of at least 5 that is pretty darn good. But back to where the Pittsburgh Steelers are and where they're headed. Omar Khan sees the opportunity in front of him. Mike Tomlin always sees that opportunity. You talk to Mike Tomlin at any time. It doesn't matter who's on the football field for him, who he has to coach, how bad his team's down, doesn't matter. Mike Tomlin believes that he is a Super Bowl winning coach and that this is a Super Bowl winning team at all times. But Omar Khan is looking at this and saying, I understand that this window is open. I understand what needs to get done. He is extremely aggressive. He is extremely successful in almost all of this. There hasn't been a move this offseason that you've looked at it and went, what are you doing, Omar? Why are you doing this? Why are you thinking about this? Why are you making that move? Why did you sign this guy for that much money? Why did you trade away this stuff? We're talking about the Steelers possibly moving into the top 10 for Jalen Carter, and the rumor being that they're interested in him if he slides. And I've heard around the league that it doesn't really look like he's going to make it to 9. But I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are aggressive enough that if that's their guy, they're going to go get their guy, and nobody's going to be upset with that. Think about that. In years past, especially coming off of the Devin Bush era, if this happened, you'd be freaking out. And you'd be saying, what are they doing? I can't believe that they're doing this. Right now, the resume that Omar Khan has put together, you just kind of sit there and think, yeah, I think he could get it done. And I think it could be impressive. And I think it could work in the Pittsburgh Steelers' favor. That's what Omar has done so far. So shout out and props to Omar Khan, because, man, that wizard doesn't stop. And he continues to win and continues to show the Pittsburgh Steelers that they made the right call. There was a lot of names out there that people were going back and forth on, in-house and out-of-house, on who the Pittsburgh Steelers should replace Kevin Colbert with. And Omar Khan was a favorite for some, but there were a lot of people out there that were thinking, well, I don't know. He doesn't have the scouting background. You don't need to scout the NFL when you could just make trades and moves constantly that only boost your team. You want to hand over the scouting to the scouting department? Sounds good to me. And that's what Omar Khan seemingly is doing. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, they've gotten nothing but raved reviews. Pac-Man Jones, former rival, said that Allen Robinson is a great wide receiver and that the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking up. Pat McAfee agreed with them on the Pat McAfee show. You look at critics like Adam Sheen, who is a longtime critic of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's very rare that you find him saying something positive about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, he says that they're now a sleeper in the AFC, and I think that they are. If everything clicks, and I know that it's so hard to see that right now. And I know that it is a lot of interpretation, a lot of hypothetical talk, a lot of what if. But if everything clicks, if Kenny Pickett turns into who many believe Kenny Pickett could turn into, who the Pittsburgh Steelers believe Kenny Pickett could turn into, if Najee Harris has an offensive line in front of him that he trusts and that creates holes, and he finds success and gets healthy and stays healthy, if Jaylen Warren becomes a dominant number 2 running back, if Deontay Johnson does what Deontay Johnson is capable of doing when he has quarterbacks that are capable of throwing him the football, if George Pickens takes a step in the right direction in year 2, which I don't know how you do that after such an impressive year 1, but my expectations are that he's going to do it. Calvin Austin comes in here and plays very well in his first NFL season on the field. Allen Robinson gets rejuvenated and can stay healthy. Pat Freiermuth takes a significant step forward. Connor Hayward takes a significant step forward. You look at this defense and you say Minkah Fitzpatrick and DeMonte Casey, well, that's pretty good. That's not too far of a drop off from Minkah Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmunds. And then you add Keanu Neal. You feel pretty good about that. Patrick Peterson is Patrick Peterson, and you have to imagine that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to add another corner in the NFL draft. Levi Wallace was very impressive last year as a starter for the Steelers. The linebackers, well, you replace the bad and hopefully you bring in the good. And I think that both of those guys have some upside. The defensive line is back together and they have a nose tackle for the first time in 2 years, and they have two of them to pick from. That feels pretty good. And we haven't even entered the NFL draft. I don't know. If everything clicks, if everything works for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have fully taken advantage of the beginning of their Super Bowl window. And things could only go up from here, but it's been a while, and I mean a while, since the Pittsburgh Steelers have felt this optimistic about the upcoming season. And I get it. When Ben was here, it was Ben, and he could do some magical things that replace a lot of the holes that the Steelers have plugged in over this offseason. But Ben's not here anymore, and you got to do it a different way. And Omar, Mike Tomlin, and this entire organization said, let's build this roster to go and compete now. And they've done that. And the Steelers look like they're all in. And I'm not going to say that it's not going to pay off for them.